Well, this is gonna look super weird. Never thought I'd say this, but the Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Tomas Plekanec from the Montreal Canadiens. Let's take a look at capfriendly.com for the full deal. The Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Tomas Plekanec, half of his salary retained by the Habs, as well as forward Kyle Bond, and in return the Habs get Kirby Reichel, Renat Valiev, and a 2018 second-round pick. Leafs fans gonna make you wait for a second. Habs fans, I think you should be happy with this return, honestly. Getting a second-round pick for Plekanec, whose contract is expiring anyway, is good. Getting two prospects who might be able to help your NHL team right away is even better. Kirby Reichel is a big body up front. Renat Valiev is a big body for your blue line. I have a feeling Bergevin is gonna like both for that reason. Reichel might have a future in the NHL. In fact, he's already played some NHL games back when he was with Columbus. It wasn't gonna happen in Toronto. And even Valiev, who is a guy that Babcock has repeatedly said that he's liked, and he was actually recalled by the Leafs earlier this season, although he didn't play it, he probably isn't going to end up making the Leafs. On the left, you got Morgan Rielly, Jake Gardiner, Travis Dermott has really come on, and you got Borgman in the minors. And he's played some time on the right, but Valiev is at least 2 injuries on the right side of the Leafs defense away from making the team. Whereas with the Habs, who are struggling mightily and they have a bunch of injuries, he might make their D now. And if Max Pacioretty is traded, Reichel might be able to slot right in on the left wing. Not on the first line, but somewhere in the lineup. So as a Leaf fan, I'm not going to laugh it off and, the Leafs gave the Habs 2 bums. It's just not true. But it is true that the likelihood of either making the Leafs was very unlikely, and that the Leafs have guys in the organization that are way ahead of them. And both are restricted free agents on their entry-level contract right now, so the Habs can potentially make them part of the future. Here, Leafs fans, here's Todd Crocker, who is the play-by-play voice of the Toronto Marlies. He posted the Marlies lineup for the game on February 24th. Andreas Johnsson, Miro Aaltonen, Dmytro Timashov, Trevor Moore, Chris Mueller, Ben Smith, Kirby Reichel, Freddie Gauthier, Colin Greening, Mason Marchment, Adam Brooks, and Jeremy Bracco. Johnsson is so far ahead of him on the depth chart. And then on the back end with Valiev, you got Andreas Borgman, Martin Marincin, Calle Rosen, Vincent Loverty, Andrew Nielsen, and Timothy Liljegren. Oh yeah, that guy. Valiev and Justin Hall tend to be a pairing on that team, and they weren't even in this game. And it's the AHL, you rotate, but as you can see, they look deep without them. They're gonna draft more, they can sign guys, yada yada yada. The Leafs could afford to give up these prospects, no question. And don't forget, in return, the Leafs get forward Kyle Bond, who doesn't seem to be a legit NHL prospect, but he'll probably play for the Marlies. And fun fact, he is the grandson of Bobby Bond, the famous Leaf who scored a Game 6 overtime winner on a broken leg in the 1964 Stanley Cup Final. Lastly on the subject, and maybe this will help, this is from Justin Bourne, who used to work for the Marlies just last year. I think they're great guys, but I don't think the Leafs organization will regret moving on from Reichel or Valiev. Hey, don't take it from me, take it from the guy who worked for the team. So then there's Plekanec. Let's start with the obvious. From Andrew Berkshire, this is a fantastic return for Plekanec, but seeing him in a Leafs jersey might make me puke a bit. Oh yeah, tell me more. So Tomas Plekanec becoming a Leaf is fascinating, because as Leafs fans, we are acclimatized to saying that he sucks. He's been a Hab for a very long time. He was drafted in 2001. His first games as a Hab were in the 03-04 season. In his first full season in the NHL, which was 2005-2006, the Habs' top 3 scorers were Alex Kovalev, Saku Koivu, and Michael Ryder. In fact, Plekanec wasn't even the highest scoring Czech-born player on the Habs that season. No, that honor belonged to Jan Bulis. So Leafs fans have been hating him for a long time. So what I've been seeing all day is a lot of Leafs fans hating the deal and Habs fans pumping his tires. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. He's not as bad as a lot of hardcore Leaf fans think, but he's also not as good as some of the nostalgic Habs fans are feeling today. After all, the guy is 35. By the way, he's 35. 6 goals, 18 assists for 24 points in 60 games so far this season. But just for fun, here's Montreal reporter Mark Dumont. Just for the sake of cherry-picking stats, here's a fun one. Tomas Plekanec has more 5-on-5 points than Rick Nash over the last 3 years. Well, when you put it that way, that's pretty good. Oh, you have more? On that note, Plekanec has more all-situation points than Nash over the last 3 years. Casually whistles as he ignores time on ice and walks away. Hey Mark, how about I add to that? You know what Tomas Plekanec is that Rick Nash isn't? A center. I had a lot of people tweeting me stuff like, what? The Leafs don't need more forwards. What are they doing? Forwards is a little vague. Wingers? No, absolutely not. They don't need more wingers. Centers? Yeah, they do. Matthews just got hurt. We're not sure what we have with Nylander at center. He's only played a few games there. Kadri's there, obviously. Marleau, but they don't want to play him at center all the time. And then you got Dominic Moore. Moore's been playing much better recently. recently, but it seems like Babcock has never been fully comfortable with him. The Freddie Gauthier experiment seems thoroughly done. And someone who's been heating it up as of late in the minors, Miro Aaltonen, just got hurt. They need center depth. Not to mention the fact that Tomas Plekanec kills penalties. This season, on average, Plekanec has played 13 minutes and 56 seconds of even strength ice time. That is third among all Habs forwards. And Plekanec has also been averaging 2 minutes and 11 seconds of shorthanded ice time per game. That is first among all Habs forwards, and in fact, he's the only Habs forward over 2 minutes at all. His time on ice per game so far, 16 minutes and 17 seconds, which is fourth. Reminder, he's 35. He will not have to do that on the Toronto Maple Leafs. No way. Even with Matthews out, Nylander's still getting the audition, but forget him. You got guys like Kadri, Bozak, Moore can still play while Matthews is out. And let's not forget, Babcock doesn't always play Moore on the penalty kill, and when he doesn't, that means the Leafs penalty kill doesn't have a single actual center. It's usually Komarov, Hyman, Brown, and Kapanen. Sometimes Moore, sometimes Marleau too. When Matthews gets healthy, the center depth becomes Matthews, Kadri, Bozak, Plekanec, or Matthews, Kadri, Plekanec, Bozak, whatever you want. Plekanec can be the center that Tyler Bozak isn't, because Bozak right now is the Leafs' third line center, and he's not a bad player, but he's very offense orientated. That's not great for that role. Plekanec, on the other hand, is. It's so hard to decipher the truth, because I was just reading all week Habs fans going, oh, well, he's still fast. He's really fast for a 35-year-old. He's so fast. And then I read, oh, he's slow. I asked someone in Montreal, and they're like, yeah, no, that's stupid. He's fast. And another thing with Plekanec is you don't have to rush Matthews back into the lineup. Not that you ever had to do that on account of look at the standings. As much as I've liked Moore's game recently, Plekanec is a substantial upgrade on Moore. Let's assume Matthews is healthy and they put the Markad-Mar line back together. They put Marleau with Kadri and Marner, and that line has been beastly in most games. One thing it kind of left the Leafs without was a real legit shutdown line. Now their fourth line or third line or whatever the hell you want to call it is probably going to be Komarov, Plekanec, Kapanen. When healthy, the Leafs forward depth might be top 5 in the NHL. As if it wasn't already. It might have been before this trade. Here's how I see the Leafs forward depth right now. Are you sitting down? Hyman, Matthews, Nylander, Marleau, Kadri, Marner, JVR, Bozak, Brown, Komarov, Plekanec, Kapanen, and then your fifth line, I guess, Martin, Moore, Levo. That is good. That also, as you might have noticed, can't happen. Again, from Cap Friendly, with the acquisition of Tomas Plekanec, the Leafs sit at 24 players and will most likely need to assign someone to the Marlies until tomorrow's active roster limit is lifted. However, at the moment, Leafs currently still have enough cap space to accommodate a $3.4 million or so cap hit. So I might be wrong, but here's how I interpret that. The Leafs might have to send someone down on a paper transaction, like, I don't know, Kapanen maybe, but then they can just call him right back up, I guess. They could waive a guy like Moore, I guess, or trade him. I've seen a couple suggestions that the Leafs should try trading Moore. What's wrong with depth? What do you have against that? Again, behind him, you got injured guy who's never played in the NHL and Freddie Gauthier. The potential move to me there, I wonder if the Leafs try to move Matt Martin. The Leafs move Sash and got a pick. The Leafs move Fair and got a pick. The Leafs get Plekanec, but get salary retention. They have this cap space for a reason. They might be thinking of doing something else. Doesn't look like it can be a big something, but it can be something. What's that going to be? People are yelling and screaming for it to be a defenseman. Well, they have this space. They're not going to upgrade at the wing. They just got their upgraded center. They do not need an upgrade in net. Where do you think the upgrade's coming from next? I think we all just guessed it. Andrew Berkshire, he works in stats for a living. He used to be a Habs fan. I don't know where he stands there. He wrote about Tomas Plekanec for Sportsnet.ca. I like this part of his article in particular. One thing this trade allows the Maple Leafs to do is soften Nazem Kadri's minutes a little bit. They can lean on Plekanec to be their top checker and defensive zone starter, while Kadri is free to create more offense. The trickle-down impact could lead the Leafs to being even more dangerous offensively than they already are. I'll put the link to the rest of Berkshire's article down below. I love this. More dangerous offensively. You always talk about identity and, oh, this team lacks identity. The Leafs do not lack identity. They score on you till you puke. That's their identity. When they have Marleau, Kadri, Komarov, their second line, as their shutdown line, they lost some of that identity. This gives them 3 lines of relentless offensive attack and a shutdown line that can potentially score on you. Now, here's how the trade could be a bomb if the Leafs lose in round 1. This trade can look very similar to the Brian Boyle trade last year, and I suppose it is, but here's how it's different. The Leafs getting Brian Boyle was to reward a young team for defying the odds and somehow being in playoff contention at all, and then they made it by the skin of their teeth. The Leafs didn't get Plekanec to make the playoffs playoffs. They got Plekanec to succeed in the playoffs. And I don't care if they got to play Tampa in round 1. I don't care if they got to play Boston. Success will be winning at least a round. Now look at Boston. The Leafs just went toe-to-toe with them, but they're loading up. Tampa might get Erik Karlsson for crying out loud. At the time I'm making this video, the Leafs are 5th in the NHL right now with 83 points. Even if Boston uses their games in hand to pass the Leafs, they're 6th. Why not the Toronto Maple Leafs, man? Another fun thing I just noticed at the time I'm making this video, all 5 of the top 5 teams in the NHL are on winning streaks. Tampa's won 3 in a row. Vegas has won 2. Nashville has won 4. Winnipeg has won 2. The Leafs have won 4. And out of them all, the Leafs have the hottest record in their last 10, 9-1-0. Why should the Leafs go for it? Because why not? A few other small things. I better wrap this up on account of the deadlines coming in. It's going to put it out of date very quickly. Does this make the Leafs more likely to trade a guy like Komarov, Bozak, or JVR because their contracts are expiring? No, I don't think so. In fact, this deal makes it more surprising if they do decide to do that. So let me ask you, what do you think of this deal? Did you think something heading into watching this video, and did I change your mind at all? Did I make you like the deal less or more? And do you think the Leafs are done? And do you think the Leafs are actually serious right now? That is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Link down below to that Andrew Berkshire article. Also a link down below to my merch, which you should definitely get. And holy smokes, just shut up, Steve. Stop talking. Trade deadline. Woo!